we probably need to address what happened with Juwan Howard and Greg Gard and the Michigan basketball team and the Wisconsin basketball team. We've talked about it plenty. It's now on First Take, and I've gotten to the point where I can't deal with it anymore. So, guys, I'm setting the timer. We're going back to the old trusty timer. We got 10 minutes to talk about this, and then we're moving on. Done and dusted after this. All right, so T.O., I'm going to you first, and go.
All right, so whenever you say you can't deal with it anymore, you can't deal with First Take anymore, because I got to go with the mute button. But other than that, look, here's the thing with the whole incident of what happened. I can sympathize with both sides as far as why they got upset. Greg Gard putting his hands on it. My first thought was, when a guy comes out of a game, what's the first thing that happens? And a guy's upset. You put your hands on him. You put your hand on his chest to calm him down. I could see Greg Gard doing that and trying to calm him down and explain himself away. On the other hand, I can see where Juwan Howard's like, this man's putting his hands on me right now. I'm already upset. This is not how I'm going to be treated as a grown man. I see both sides. The issue is neither one of them back down. And there's a little bit of a thing with Juwan Howard in that league from what I've seen from a distance. Now, I'm obviously outside of the Big Ten bubble, but from a distance, other coaches do not want to back down from Juwan Howard. And I think it has a lot to do with his success as a player. I think it has a lot to do with a lot of coaches who have been in the ringer of assistant coaching. They've been through director of ops, director of, they've done all these things. They feel like he cut line a little bit. So there's a little bit of bitterness there. So they don't want to back down from Juwan Howard. What should have happened, guys? There shouldn't have been a press at the end of the game. Juwan Howard should have just said it's over. There shouldn't have been a timeout at the end of the game, but one results in the other. And Gard should have just kept walking, got his team through the lines, kept walking, not reacted. Juwan shouldn't have said anything. Here's what happens. Both are at fault. Where it really went wrong was the swing. You can have a little dust up, you can get in each other's face, but when you swing, that set off an unbelievable chain of events that cannot happen in the college game. And my overriding thought of the whole thing was how much that these two individuals failed their kids and failed their players. Moussa Diabate, Rob, you said it last night. John, you said it last night. That never occurs without Juwan going first. The kid from Jacoby Neath, the kid that transferred from Wake Forest, like that never occurs if he doesn't see a coach on the floor. Those coaches failed their players. And if I have a kid that's being recruited at a high level, I'm looking at this. This is a serious lack of self-control and discipline by the coaches. It is regrettable to say the least, fireable at the worst. I think that would be an overreaction. What I do think should happen, Gard should get a game or two because of his refusal just to keep going. Juwan should be done for the rest of the season because of the swing only. You can't swing in layup lines or handshake lines. You can't swing. I've been through a couple of things. People are saying, let's get rid of the handshake line. Forget that. Be a grown man. Have some respect. You just got your tail whipped. Shake the hands. Get to your locker room. Coach your team. But the overriding thought, and RC, Randolph Childress, said it perfectly yesterday. It was a lack of leadership, a failure of leadership, and those coaches failed those kids. And that's why I feel so bad about the whole thing.
So well said. And I think that in this incident, it is a direct reflection of what a coach is to his players. And in this case, it's all for the bad. Yep. And that's why I do feel bad for the players this morning. Because people need to remember, we are talking about 18 to 22-year-old kids. If you want to really go in on a program, I'm fine with, if you want to criticize the head coach, go ahead until the sun rises. Because he's getting paid millions of dollars to find a way to win games. So if you want to criticize anyone, it starts and ends with him. And it does start and end with both these head coaches. Not only during the incident, how about after the game?
Yeah.
How about the post-game press conferences? How have we not seen the apology that's full accountability and states, man, I'm sorry that this happened. I'm sorry that this occurred. It is, as we do this podcast, 11:16 a.m. Eastern time. And to be quite candid with you, It's already too late. It's already been too long for us to hear about what's going on with this situation. I understand that things have to get hashed out, but you can't have a swing like that taken on broadcast television to the world, and now the next morning we're nearing noon and we really haven't heard what the after effects are, although we've heard rumors. I feel bad for the players. I would imagine if they're not in a class, they're in their locker room or they're in a dorm room right now hanging out and probably waiting to hear what's going to happen, waiting to hear their fate. And frankly, Moussa Diabate, Terrence Williams, Jacoby Neath, I feel so bad for those guys more than anybody because their actions are a result of their coaches.
Yes.
And I hope that everybody that's handing out punishments understands that their actions are a result of their coaches, because those kids should not be done for the year or suspended for a long period of time, in my humble opinion. So that's how I feel about this morning. But I got to say this, guys. This is another incident where 2022 versus 2012 is a totally different level of discourse following said incident.
Yep.
Because of this incident, reputable folks have said, well, he should be fired. Reputable folks have said, well, we have to do away with shaking someone's hand after a game. And when I say reputable, I say people that are making a large amount of money and who are heard from on a national platform basis that are trusted by the general public. The sun came up today. Everybody woke up in Madison, in Ann Arbor. There are real decisions that have to be made about this. But let's not get to a point where we're now affecting even more families and even more people as a result of something that was an altercation. They've happened before in the sports world. They've happened in the stands. They'll happen again down the road. Things must be done. There must be swift action taken. But let's not look into this and start saying that jobs need to be lost, families need to be destroyed, kids need to sit out the rest of the year. We've all been through enough crap over the last 2 years. Like, take this incident for what it is, and let's try to move forward and try to produce something that's not end everything, all or nothing. He's got to lose his job, because that's not fair.
Yeah, he doesn't. This is the kind of situation where if you were looking for a reason to fire somebody with cause to get out of their buyout, you could fire them. I don't think it's the kind of situation where you have to fire somebody for it. And honestly, I don't think that having a bit of tension spill over and get to this point in sports is necessarily a bad thing. That makes for more intrigue, that makes for more eyeballs, and makes for more interest. You want people to be competitive. You need to be able to control yourself, though, because there is one thing that you cannot do as a basketball player, as a coach, more or less as a human being. You can't take that swing. If you take that swing, you're going to get suspended. And Juwan Howard needs to be suspended for that. Now, here's my biggest issue, and I've said this before. Look, there's fault on both sides. Joe Krabenhoff needs to sit for a little bit. Greg Gard, you could tell me you were calling a timeout. I'll explain bullshit. I don't want to hear it. You know what you were doing. You know the result of that. You know how that works. You were trying to make a point because people in the league don't like Juwan Howard. Just, I don't need this woe is me shit from Wisconsin. You guys know what you did. You talked a lot and you got hated. Juwan Howard should not have swung. That doesn't mean that Joe Krabenhoff or Greg Gard didn't deserve to get smacked for the way that they handled the end of that game scenario. But what I will say is this. Moussa Diabate is a 19-year-old young black man. And when there are young black men on national television throwing punches, like it or not, there's going to be a certain label that comes with that is put onto that now, right? That's the society that we live in. That's just a fact. It's unfortunate, but it's a fact. And he did something that I think all of us would have lauded in the grander scheme of things, because what he was doing was protecting a teammate that he saw getting punched. The guy that he was throwing punches against was Jacoby Neath. He was protecting an assistant coach that he saw was getting hit by Terrence Williams. Terrence Williams was protecting himself because during that altercation, that coach got pushed into him. He thought he was getting tackled into the stands. that coach got pushed into Terrence Williams because Juwan Howard could not control himself and threw a punch, slap, mush, whatever you want to call it. If Juwan Howard doesn't swing, those players don't end up having the situation that they're dealing with. If those players don't end up having that situation to deal with, they're not getting suspended, and they don't have that label as thug or whatever is going to be thrown at them over the course of the rest of their lives. And hopefully people forget about this and understand it just is what it is. And it was a moment that passed. But he got 2 players that went to his program to trust him, are going to be suspended for throwing punches and fighting. They're going to have that label tag to them. And in an era where so much of the money is made from NIL stuff, from branding, from what your perception is from the public at large, Juwan Howard just ruined that. He's going to be fine. He's worth 9 figures. He's going to be just fine. His players are the ones that are going to bear the brunt of it. And we got 10 seconds left. I don't know if any of you guys want to put a wrap on this, but I will just say this. We don't need to fire anybody. We don't need to blow anything up. People need to get punished, and we need to move on and just be better.
My thing is this: handshake lines. Keep the handshake lines. Keep them. I have shaken hands after or shook hands, shaken. I don't know what the correct vernacular is. Since I was like 5, that's what you do. I've played all over the world. You shake hands. You could get in a fight, whatever, but after the game, you shake hands. We need adults to act like adults. This is something that happens. This is part of a sportsmanship code that you're a part of. And while they say, well, the NBA doesn't do it, this is a collegiate institution. Like this is a big part of a young man's development. Also,
that's BS, because if you go and you look at what the NBA does, every single player goes up and daps up everybody else, right?
That's right.
They just don't stand in a line and walk by each other. They kind of mill around and they shake all the hands. Like in the NBA these days, everybody's friends. You could have the handshake line and no one's going to care.
Yeah, right? They do it anyway.
I'd argue
in the 1980s.
I'd argue that not having a handshake line could produce more after game things than having one. Because if you don't have a structure of the handshake line, the game could end and you could be 2 feet from somebody instead of running to your handshake line, because it's a routine-based thing and the players follow their coach. I think at the end of the day, 2 things. Number 1, accountability.
Yes.
Accountability has gone away in our world to a great degree. You can never be wrong, apparently. You can never be wrong. You can never be in the wrong. And I think yesterday's post-game press conferences illustrated that. Like, we just didn't see something clearly went wrong, guys. You're getting paid a lot of money. Grow up.
Here's my thing, too.
Grow up and say it's wrong. And then the other thing I would just say is I would expect my theory to begin with yesterday, and I still have this theory, like, is there a part of Juwan Howard that says, be the bigger man and self-impose? Self-impose what, I was wrong. I was in the wrong. And I know you're shaking your head, but
No,
I'm shaking because he won't do it. I'm shaking my head because he won't.
Well, Michigan's going to do it for him. Like this is going to be something that Ward Manuel gets out in front of and makes a decision. He's working with the Big Ten. It's going to be swift. It is 11:25 in the a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the only legitimate time zone right now. And I expect that by the time you people are actually listening to this, it's going to be something where a decision will be made.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so it might even happen while we're live on this pod, so we'll react if that happens. But listen, can we wrap this up? Can we?
Yeah, wrap it up. Go next. Yeah.
Can we wash our hands with it? Okay, good.